Hi, guys. Back with another word from the Lord. So, this word is concerning Jezebel and God's judgment on the Jezebel operating in your life and in your spouse's life. Now, God has been speaking to me regarding this word for some weeks now. So, actually, maybe a couple weeks or so. And He's just been giving me more and more and bringing the pieces together. And so you'll know that this word is for you. It'll be confirmation to you. It will resonate with your spirit. And I do advise you take every word back to the Lord for confirmation. So many of your spouses have been operating under the Jezebel spirit and have also allowed the Jezebel spirit to operate around them and amongst them. So this could look like when the spirit is operating within your spouse, he's controlling or she's controlling. I'm going to say he um, throughout this video because I'm a woman, but apply it if you're a man to your wife, okay, or the one that God has called to be your wife. Now, this person would be manipulative. This person would be moody, angry. I do advise you do some research on the Jezebel spirit to just get some more info, but this can manifest as your spouse being manipulative in their feelings, never taking accountability for anything, never saying sorry, never really acknowledging your feelings, probably never really letting you speak when a situation arises. They want to manipulate it, like they want to be the ones speaking over you, controlling the conversation. And then when it's your turn to speak, and after you've allowed them to express themselves, they shut you off, they cut you off, they walk away, they anything to avoid taking accountability. The Jezebel spirit has many other characteristics, but how this would look on the outside. So, for example, your spouse's friends or parents or family, counterfeit people. Okay, these people who are allowing the enemy to use them to attack and suppress and oppress your spouse and thus preventing you guys from coming together. So it's a whole demonic system and organization that the enemy will place around your spouse to keep them bound, and they're not necessarily aware of these things. They think because these are people they love, people they trust, but yet these people they don't really know because they're blinded, right? Under spells or however, um, they don't see that these people are manipulating them, that these people are compromised, right? They're compromised. Usually they're not necessarily believers. These people are yielded to the enemy. This spirit can use them, jump in them whenever it wants to manipulate your spouse. And it's usually not just one person, it's a network. So again, this Jezebel spirit could be operating in your spouse and around your spouse and both, right? Either or both. So, what God was revealing to me, He began to show me this Jezebel spirit, how your spouse or your spouses are, while they're being awakened, God is revealing certain things to them, and He's revealing, He's bringing their memory, right? And so they're starting to recall times where it just wasn't right. They're starting to, God is highlighting how these people are hindering them, that there's no growth when these people are around. And these people never really held them accountable. They were always yes men, right? When your spouse was doing something that wasn't in the will of God, that was against you, right? Against himself, they coddled him. They okayed it. When he was stagnant and he or she, they were in the wrong, these people, they endorsed it. They never told your spouse that he or she was at fault or wrong. When they came against you, these people, they never held him accountable. They either laughed at it, they welcomed it, they influenced him to do it. It was never good. And so while he was blind because he ran from accountability under this demonic spirit, even in himself, um, he couldn't see it for what it was. So now that God is revealing truth to these men and women, they are now seeing that their mothers, their uncles, their friends, their cousins, the people who were amongst them while they were in sin, while they were bound and never moving forward, that laughed with them, that never really held them accountable. The ones that they looked at as, I guess, that they could do no wrong, while the person and people that were holding them accountable, for instance, you could have been the only one in their lives holding them accountable. They viewed you as evil, demonic. They viewed you as against them, right? Instead of for them. And so they associated you holding them accountable with you disliking them, you being jealous of them. But now that God's exposing the enemy and exposing Jezebel, they're now seeing the truth. So they're now seeing that if these people loved me, they would have not they would have told me the truth. If these people cared, they wouldn't have allowed me to be stagnant. They would have encouraged me to grow like you were doing. So now there's this distinguishing, like there's this distinction between who is for them and who isn't for them taking place right now. And so many of your spouses have identified Jezebel. So God has delivered them themselves, that have had the Jezebel spirit within them. God has delivered them, the personal deliverance, and now revealing those who are compromised around them. And so in this, your spouse is parting ways with these people. It might look like your spouse distancing himself from these people. Like if it's a mom, he's not communing with a mom. He's not really um, talking to the mom as he usually would, right? Or if it's friends, he's not answering the calls. He's not answering his text messages. He's kind of shut off, doing his own thing, really trying to hear God and listen, because again, God is revealing things and exposing things. And so he sees the people around him differently. And so he's withdrawing, okay? Or she's withdrawing from those people. So some of the ways God showed me that he showed me that the spirit was operating, but also showed me that it was the death of this spirit, okay? So Jezebel's spirit is no longer oppressing them. Jezebel has been exposed and thrown down, okay? God began showing me some witches, right? Some like this stuff would pop up. It would be like the Wizard of Oz. He really spoke through the Wizard of Oz clips. And even if it wasn't the Wizard of Oz, I noticed like a similar title amongst videos that he was highlighting to me. And some titles were like, it took me 30 years to realize this. It took me 28 years, 40 years to realize this. And what God revealed to me in titles like this is that it took them a lifetime to realize who the true enemy was, right? It took this encounter with God for them to realize this could be something that they were under since children. And that's what God was really revealing to me after this as well. What led to this oppression of the Jezebel spirit? What allowed this to enter them? What allowed these spirits, these demonic spirits, to influence them? And a lot of it stemmed from childhood traumas. Okay. So a lot of these men and women were rejected as children. They were rejected by parents, or um, they have like traumas that they never healed. And in order to combat these feelings, they try to block it out, or, you know, they kind of like form this wall. It's like an inflated ego began to form, right? Because I'll never let anybody hurt me like this again. I'll never be rejected like this again. So they build this brick wall, and it doesn't allow truth to get in anymore. And over time, it just allows delusion, and it's demonic, okay? And this type of thing is what allows these spirits to get in. And so they were under this for many years, some of them 28 years, some of them 30 years, all their lives, okay? Um, but now they're, because of God and because of your prayers and just you partner with God, they're coming out of this delusion and oppression. One clip God showed me to confirm that Jezebel has been silenced, thrown down, okay, and your spouse knows who the real villain is, okay. On this Wizard of Oz clip, it says it took me 28 years to realize who's the real villain in the Wizard of Oz, okay. So it was somebody's view of the movie. And then it says, I mean, it makes sense now. It has hashtag wicked. So it's now all making sense to your spouse because of God's revelation, because of the light being shined on the truth. Also, God used the movie Get Out, like a clip from the movie Get Out. And in the movie, this clip of the movie, it was like towards the end of the movie. So if you never watched Get Out, you might want to go watch it. Again, if you don't really know too much about the Jezebel spirit, you might want to go research it and let God minister you more on this if this isn't confirmation. So in the movie Get Out, towards the end, so I haven't watched a full movie in a while, but I think it was like a woman, a girlfriend that the main character was the boyfriend, okay? And the girlfriend kind of like deceived the boyfriend. She deceived many men, okay? Just as Jezebel, right? She was a Jezebel spirit in this movie. She deceived this boyfriend. She manipulated him. She distorted his views and things. He trusted her. But when the truth was revealed to him, he in this clip he was choking her out, like he was literally his hands around her neck and he was killing her, he was choking her out. Jezebel was still like, it was weird, she was still like smiling like as she was getting choked out, like it was crazy. But he's choking her out and he kills her because God is saying, Jezebel, your spouse has come out of the delusion and he is now against Jezebel, right? He's choking her out. And again, that can look like cutting off friends, cutting off family, distancing himself from these people. Okay. If he was a mama's boy, he ain't no mama's boy now. Okay. He's no longer a mama's boy because maybe his mama was the Jezebel in his life. Okay. And again, it's not just one person, it's usually a network around your spouse that the enemy has put in place. He's using certain people around him to oppress him, but he's onto them, okay, and he's choking them out. He's choking this spirit out by detaching and silencing him, silencing the people, okay. Um, Again, withdrawing. Maybe they don't hear from him, okay. They don't know what's going on. So in this movie, Get Out, this main character, the boyfriend, has a male best friend. And I think, again, I haven't watched this, I just watched this clip and let God minister to me through the small clip. But it's been some years since I watched the full movie. But this, in the movie, he has a best friend, and he, the best friend is like, before he even goes on this trip with this girlfriend, we're going to call her Jezebel, before he even goes on vacation with Jezebel to her family's home, I feel like the friend, I believe, the friend was warning him, like, hey, you might not want, you want to go that far with this woman, like you barely, like, what do you know about her family, what do you know about them really? And he was like warning him. And so the best friend symbolizes you, okay. You were warning them, you were the one telling the truth, holding them accountable. They didn't like it, they went on anyway around these people doing whatever it was that they were doing. Okay, so in the end, in this clip, after he kills Jezebel, after he chokes her out and kills her, he's in jail. Like he's arrested, as if, when the cop showed up, he was just basically killing a woman. So that's what they saw. And so as he is in jail behind bars, his friend visits him. And in the clip, his friend is asking him, like, what's really going on? Like, what happened? And all he says to his friend is, I stopped it. I stopped it. Okay, so he says it twice. And so what God was showing me is that your spouse has stopped Jezebel in her influence and her oppressing him. Whatever the spirit was doing to him through other people, he is cutting it off or has cut it off. Okay. And so the clip was 3 minutes and 31 seconds long. And God led me to look up 331 in the Strongs. Okay. And in the Greek, it means accursed, devoted to destruction. An accursed thing devoted to destruction. This is Jezebel. And then in the Hebrew, 331 means to be complete, to be finished, to be consumed. So again, God confirms that it is done. What Jezebel, the influence that she had on your spouse is over. It's done. She can no longer oppress him, manipulate him, keep him from you, keep him from the truth, God has exposed it. And so another number associated with this clip was 716. And in the Greek, 716 means chariot. And a chariot spiritually symbolizes divine power and intervention. It's like a chariot of war in the Bible. And it can symbolizes God's divine power and intervention. So God has intervened, okay, in this situation. He intervened by revealing the truth to your spouse and by helping your spouse, giving him the boldness to silence these people in around him and in his life, okay? So after your spouse is delivered from the spirit, he's allowing God to help him cut Jezebel off from him entirely from the outside as well. So I have here your spouse knows who his enemies are. He or she is separating themselves from these people. He's choking them out and distancing himself from them. Another reference, video reference that God gave me was another Wizard of the Oz clip that referenced the death of Jezebel in your spouse's life. It was a short that God showed me. He drew me to a short video, and it was of the Wicked Witch in the Wizard of Oz. But it was the woman who played the Wicked Witch, and it was titled "The Life and Death of Margaret Hamilton." Okay, so this Margaret Hamilton is a woman who played the Wicked Witch in the Wizard of Oz, and got highlighted the title, "The Life and Death of Margaret Hamilton." Okay, so God is here referencing Jezebel is dead. Okay, the wicked witch that has been operating and manipulating your spouse is dead. And so this particular short video had, I think, 2,403 likes. And so God led me to look up the number 2403. And 2403 in the Greek means Jezebel. It means a woman who leads others into idolatry and immorality. Okay. Also in the Hebrew, 2304 means sin, a sin offering. And this is a sacrifice made to atone for sin and restore relationship between the sinner and God. Okay. So God is basically, again, has delivered your spouse from the spirit and is assisting him in a boldness and cutting the people off that are operating in the spirit, choking the spirit out of his life, okay, or of her life. And this will restore your person back to God, okay? There's no more oppression or negative influences from the spirit anymore. Now your spouse can grow with God, okay? He's restored your spouse and God, the relationship between your spouse and God is restored. And also on this clip, God showed me, he highlighted the number 82. And in the Hebrew, it means mighty, strong, powerful, to fly and to soar. So this is what your spouse is doing. With God's power and strength, he's going to soar. He's going to overcome this thing, okay? He has overcome Jezebel, okay? So also, I was debating on making this a separate video, but it kind of just ties in with this. So God, again, was showing me how these spirits get in your spouse. Like, how are they allowed to come in? And really, God was showing me childhood traumas, okay? Childhood traumas will allow this person, right? If a parent neglected them as a child and the parent came back around because of whatever, he could have accepted this person back in his life, but the parent never changed. And it's just like because of your spouse's, long story short, God was showing me, like, because of the childhood traumas that were never healed, it allowed these things to get in. And Satan really just built up a network around your spouse to keep him bound. Okay. So you might have been like, how does he not see the constant manipulation? Like, how does he not see these people coming together to keep him stagnant? They don't want him to grow. They don't want him. They could be feeding off of him, right? If your spouse is paying all the bills for everybody, everybody's okay with him being bound to this job that doesn't serve him. And you see that he's gifted, and you see God might have revealed to you even the calling on his life, and you see more out of him. And but everybody else is okay with him being down and depressed as long as their needs are being met. And so your spouse could have interpreted this because of his wounds, his childhood wounds, as them loving him and them needing him. So, because they needed him, he felt love in that. Whatever the case is, his view was distorted and God has exposed it. And so God showed me another video, right? It was a whole movie. This one I watched for the first time. Truman. I've never seen this movie before. I've never seen anything about this movie, and it stars Jim Carrey. And God drew me to a couple of clips that he spoke to me about. And again, it had the same theme of your spouse being awakened to the truth and the things that were manipulating him and oppressing him. So, led to watch the entire movie. It was so good. Basically, God was revealing to me that because your spouse has broken away, I suggest you go watch the movie for a greater understanding. It's called Truman. It was made in the 1990s. Okay, it's an older movie, and Jim Carrey is the main character. In the movie, he's like, from a child, he's lied to. From birth, he's lied to and manipulated. And it's not until he's married, he's older, that he realizes he wants to break free. Like, he doesn't want, this is not the reality he wants anymore. So he tries to fight and get out, but everyone was in on him staying where he was. So basically, everyone was in on him staying oppressed and bound. Everyone in the city manipulated him, okay? So in the movie, everybody was watching his life. His life was a show, but he didn't know. He thought he was really living out an authentic life, okay? But no, the director of the show, I guess, adopted him and kind of built his reality, okay? He built everyone around him was an actor. His wife was not really his wife, she was an actor. The the from the people at the store, like the shops, from his parents, okay? His mother and father were actors. Every person was put in place to manipulate him, okay? So everyone around him was compromised except for one woman, okay? Which could be you, represent you, okay? This one woman he took notice of. He adored her. Like, they kind of like fell in love immediately without any physical anything, okay? They were in love. They wanted, it was like true love. But the wife was planted in his life by the enemy. Okay? The director is Satan, essentially. He's the enemy. And he used the wife to help keep him oppressed. But he saw someone else that wasn't used by the director. And the director of the show, which was like the Truman Show, because in the movie Jim Carrey is Truman, he cuts out the true love interest of Jim Carrey, okay? So that she wouldn't interfere with the one that Satan planted, or the director had planted in his life. And when Truman and the other woman snuck away together immediately, because the enemy, again, these monitoring spirits, what God revealed to me, they came to take the woman away, okay, because she wasn't she wasn't under the spell. She wasn't consumed by the Jezebel spirit like everyone else was. She was, again, symbolizing you, the one that told the truth, the one that was his true love and could help him break free from the oppression, okay? Because she saw the truth. So in the movie, this woman, she they cut her out of his life. Like they took her away immediately. And towards the end of the movie, so Truman is trying to escape when he gets tired of the whole every day, like he knows he's not growing at this point. He's like, I want to get out of here. Like I think he wanted to go to Fiji or something like that. But I mean, when I say everybody was working with Satan, everybody but this one girl. So they kicked her out. And that's what the devil did for you, okay? The devil might have kicked you out of your spouse's life, causing this separation or whatever, but God is turning the whole thing around, okay? And in the movie, God, the whole thing was turned around as well. And so once Truman began to, he started to notice like, everybody's compromised. Like you'll see in the movie, he's starting to wake up. And then he's like, once he realizes his wife is compromised, um, and she's his current wife, right? She's in it with the mother who appeared is not really his mother, the father. No one was real, okay? So once he realizes this, he then goes alone to escape. Yeah, so he's being monitored by this demonic network, okay? He can't do anything without people looking at him because he's under heavy surveillance. This symbolizes your spouse, okay? Under heavy surveillance with this network of demons and monitoring spirits. It's in their mother, it's in their father, it's in their cousins, their friends, their co-workers, okay? This spirit is everywhere, trying to keep you, because once your spouse awakens and comes, your spouse can have a big calling on his life or whatever it is. He They don't want him to come into truth, right? Because this breaks the generational curse on the bloodline. Now these spirits have no more authority, right, to manipulate him and his family, to keep them bound. um it can no longer hinder you and him from coming together in union. um so this is what's happening to Truman, right? He's being monitored. So then Truman, he finds out a way. He gets witty, okay, and he knows where the camera is in his basement, and so he fakes his body, like he puts pillows under a cover, like this. The people, they kind of like lost him, okay. He faked his body, and then he was able to climb out of a hole, okay, in the from the house, okay, and he got out somehow, and he disappeared. So no one can find him. They're like, where's Truman? The network is trying to find him. Like, it's a big thing. And then so in the before in the movie, I don't want to make this video too long, but before in the movie, Truman is trying to get away. What God was revealing to me. So what God was revealing to me also is that the enemy plays on your spouse's fears and their traumas. Okay, so they could have trauma from the person that they're holding on to and latching onto, because they think that this person is their defender, their savior, their helper, but they don't truly realize that this is the person that's holding them back. Okay, they're deceived. So in the beginning of the movie, Truman's dad, they went out on a boat, okay, him and his fake dad. He didn't know he was fake at the time, and the dad supposedly fell off the boat and died. So towards the end, when Truman was trying to escape, the enemy knew that he would have a fear of truly, the only way out basically in the movie was this boat, this going through on this boat and going on the water. But the enemy knew that Truman had a fear of this boat because he had experienced a major trauma from seeing his dad fall off the boat and die. Okay. And so, um, yeah, so Truman, he's scared at first. He's like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it out of here. But he was so fed up in the end, he got on the boat and he was like, I'm out. I'm out. So the enemy didn't expect him to be on this boat and escape this way, because the enemy knew he had set it up in such a way that Truman would never, like, he's so traumatized by this, he can never break free this way. Okay. But he did. Okay. So God was showing me that this is your spouse. Okay. God is giving your spouse the boldness to break away. So Truman is on this boat. And so the enemy, which is the director in the movie, manipulating everything. Okay, he built a network around Truman to keep him bound. The enemy now spots Truman on the water. Okay. Truman is trying to get through. But the enemy is like, no, like, um, he's not getting free. Okay. Not on my watch. So the enemy was even able to manipulate the weather. Okay. So in the movie, the enemy causes the boat to rock and Truman to like almost die. And the enemy could care less. Okay. He cared less. He didn't care if Truman died. He just didn't want Truman free. That's the same thing with these spirits, with Satan, okay? And your spouse. They don't want him to get free. They rather him die than for him to be freed, okay? But God is not going to allow it. So in the movie, Truman overcame the storms. He got away. But once he got to the end, it was like a wall. Like, so he's on the ocean, he gets to the end of the sea, he comes to the surface or to shore and notices it's a wall. So he really like he's frustrated at this point, like I can't get out. But then to his right, he noticed a stairway. So he gets out the boat and he goes up the stairs. Okay, now in this part, God was speaking as well. Um, the voice of the director. So he could hear, he can't see the director, but he can hear the director. So this is the enemy working through your spouse's thoughts. Okay. Again, watch the movie, it'll make better sense. Okay. So he is speaking to Truman, and Truman can hear him, but Truman cannot see him. So Truman is, so he's saying to Truman, you don't want to leave. Your life here is great. It's, I protected you. I've been with you since you've been little. Mind you, this is the same director that tried to kill him, okay, on the water because he didn't want him to escape. But now he's manipulating him in thought and in his mind, saying, you don't want to leave. You don't know what's out there. Like playing on his fears and his childhood traumas. This is what's happening with your spouse or what was happening, okay? So your spouse or Truman, he after hearing this, he listened. Then he said, "No, I'm still leaving." Like he broke away. He was just like, I'm done with this. Okay, I want freedom. I want really. His inspiration also was the woman or you, right? It was the person that he loved and he had a connection with, a true connection with. He wanted that, and he wanted to search for her. So he had this boldness to break away from the enemy, and then there was nothing that this director or Satan could do at that point because he had walked through those doors and he had been set free. So yeah, it's so good. So God basically is saying that the enemy can no longer play on um your spouse's childhood wounds, right? Because God is healing him. God is giving him boldness and truth, and he won't turn back. Okay. And he eventually he was set free, and so your spouse is being set free, and that's why he can return to you and is returning to you now. I have some other revelation that God gave me concerning this as well, in your spouse's return. But yeah, that movie is a perfect depiction of how Satan operates in our spouses' lives, right? How he manipulates them, how he monitors them, and your spouse is now cutting them off. I pray that this word was confirmation to you, and I pray that you take it back to God for further revelation. Again, the movies are that God spoke through are The Wizard of Oz, the old version, right? Get Out, the movie Get Out. I don't know what year that, but that was, that wasn't too long ago. And then the movie Truman, which I think was 1998 or so. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another word as God leads me.